Hello, this is Black Country Blokes chewing the fat.
Listen.
I've been hearing a lot lately about men don't talk, but in my experience, men do talk, just people aren't listening. So it's going to be me and a group of blokes discussing our struggles and victories through life. Warning, there may be some bad language, so apologies to all the moms, especially my own. Let's get going.
Listen.
Abin, yeah. It's the Black Country Blokes chewing the fat. Me, Kev Dillon, Craig Pinches, and Lee Cadman. Now, tonight we're going to be talking about local heroes. I mean, heroes, to be a hero doesn't mean you fly around with a cape and wearing a mask, although all of us have got to wear masks nowadays. But we haven't got to be cape wearing, lifting up cars, running faster than the speed of bullets. But unfortunately, with the media and social media and the press, we don't hear about the common day heroes. And I'll just give you a couple of examples. One of my boxers, Matt Shaw, one of my lifetime friends at Shawry, he was driving down Briley Hill the other day, and he sees a man lying on the floor with a crowd of people around him. He jumps out the car and says, "What's happening?" Say, "A man's collapsed." He says, "Has anyone phoned an ambulance?" I said, "Yeah." Without thinking about it, he got there and started doing the compressions. And he kept doing the compressions until the ambulance got there. That's self as that. He got back in his car and thought no more about it. And then he had a phone call saying, "You've saved that man's life." And then the child of the man contacted Shaw because, he'd done first aid at the club this year because he boxes for me, wants to become a coach. We've hadn't done that first aid, but it's one thing having the first aid knowledge and let's put it into practice. Because often, like if your child falls in the pool, if she's just with you, you jump in, not think about it. But more people do are around that swimming pool, less likely you are jumping in. You look and go, "You can jump in, Craig. You can jump in, Lee." And often, before you know it, the time's passed, and that's with the injury. So God bless you, Shaw. Another hero story from once again around here. My brother Ben Taylor from R&L Gentlemen's Barbers. Now, every year, Ben either cuts the hair of homeless people or he raises clothes and toiletries. Instead of just giving it to a charity shop that'll sell it, he finds organisations where they can go and actually put a present under Jasmine's tree. Go and give Craig a coat, Lee some shoes, and Kevin a hat. And this year, because he hasn't been able to do that because of all the regulations, even though this year people have needed it more than ever, he got chocolates donated and he invited the real Father Christmas and Mrs. Claus all the way from the North Pole. And they went out, him and one of my boxers, Tom Jones, dressed as elves, going all around the Wallers and Pensnet and Brockmore, giving chocolates out. Now his wife, Nikki, who's a lovely woman, and they met, and the children, Lily and Ruby, went around with an army of volunteers, all wearing a mask, all hand sanitizer, followed all the COVID regulations. But we don't hear about them. So today, I'm asking everyone to write in, be it your guardians, your teacher, your coach, the bloke from down the road. Let's give these local heroes a shout out. Because all we hear at the moment is bad, 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 bad. But there's so much good. There's a miracle on every corner of every street in this country. But the problem is we don't bloody hear about it. So, guys, over to you. Oh, and by the way, happy Kevmas Eve. It's my birthday tomorrow. And normally, me and the gang of how many cops and robbers, everyone comes out. We'll have a drink. But obviously, we can't this year. And that's not just my birthday. It's Christmas dues and work dues. They've been cancelled. If you want to shout a Merry Christmas to everyone or a Happy Kevmas, or please write in with your hero stories. Up to you, boys.
Lee?
I think he's listening to the thing. Have
Oh,
you
is
got?
that-
Sorry, mate. I'm listening to make sure sounds all right.
Oh, is that your excuse, is it, mate?
It is.
Jump,
It is, and it sounds
do
great,
you want me
lads.
to jump in first so you can check my levels, mate?
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was going to do,
All right,
mate.
I'll
If
do
you
that
don't
for
mind.
you. Yeah, I mean, like, heroes, define heroes, because you think of heroes as people that wear capes and people that are, on the TV and they stop wagons with, like the Hulk and this, that, and the other. But a hero really is just somebody that puts their self out, that sacrifices something of their self, be it their time, be it their money, be it their well-being sometimes, for the service of humanity, for the purpose of humanity, to put somebody else to make somebody else's life easier or better or safer or however you want to spin it. Now, people do look at heroes like it's just some Hollywood, thing, and they do forget the local heroes. But it, like you said earlier, Kev, off air when we spoke on the phone, the supermarket folk who've gone through this time, they just as important as the NHS. They've put themselves on the front line at a potentially critical, point in life. It's a one, we're never going to face this kind of pandemic again. I hope not anyway within our generation. And they've put themselves on the front line for the service of humanity, where there is a service required or where another person or another group of people need them. They've put themselves out, and to me, that's the definition of a hero. It doesn't have to be in the papers. It doesn't have to be anything. A hero is just somebody that makes other people's life easier and better and safer.
And how many people, like, they've had to go to work, and because they've had to go to work, one of these key works, your shops, your police, your NHS, your dustbin, whatever it is, and because they've been at work, they haven't been able to see their own kids or their own grandkids. And the amount of sacrifice that is put on people, and they've done it. And I like when at the first lockdown, when we're having people like Joe Shakespeare, who's going out delivering food, been furloughed or whatever. But then they start going, well, I'm a young lad. I'm one of the lower risks. I might still get it. But they were going off delivering food. And I just want people to ride in and just say some of the amazing, wonderful things. Because, once again, this stuff don't get talked about. And bloody hell, doesn't it cheer you up hearing good news? Because we have all this bad news, tears, poverty, famine, murder, rape, killing. And you're thinking, well, that is happening, but there's so much bloody good out there. And it gets lost in translation.
People are good. People are, we're better than we credit ourselves for. And I always say I hate people. I do. And that's, like I've said it before, and that's based on the fact of the people I come across, and not even though I come across personally. I tend to adopt that attitude when I see the shit happenings in the world and on the social media and on the news, and hear it on the radio, and like senseless killings and robberies and stuff like that, or just spiteful, vindictive natures. I deal with a lot of that with certain people myself, and I think, I don't know how you could be like that. So I always say I hate people, but then I always turn around and I contradict myself. I say, you know what? Human beings, people are such a remarkable species, and we have such great potential to make this world a beautiful, safe, loving place. I watched this thing on Kendrick Lamar earlier. I think it was from about 7 months ago, an interview, and Kendrick Lamar turned around and said, when we all realize that we're here, we are put on this planet to love, then the world's going to be a far better place. Because how true is that? You think it's soppy and you think it's corny and cheesy, a world filled with love. And, some say love makes the world go round, some say it's money, but people are remarkable and they are beautiful. So it does cheer you up, and it does give you a little bit of hope for the future when you hear stories of people, senseless acts, selfless acts, sorry, not senseless, selfless acts of bravery and courage and humanitarian, prospects. So.
Well, to number one, Abby and John Browning, a good friend of ours. I know they listen to the show, so Abby, yeah, they saw this thing, people struggling, because they normally donate to either the Black Country Women's Aid or whenever people are raising clothes and toiletries. So, because they haven't been able to do it this year, so they typed in, if anyone knows the name of the company, she told me the other day, we can help people over Christmas, but you can buy their Christmas dinner. Then you work it out and go, well, Christmas dinner's only one day. You can spend 40 quid on a meal. So she put all the money and bought them a week's load of shopping, and then put some presents in there. Because all these people, they think, oh, they're down and out. They just had bad luck after bad luck. And they're the people who they're not too proud to go on benefits because they want to survive. And then when the main bill earner loses their thing, then they're that close to losing the house. So God bless them. Them people are just reaching out. And we have a friend, Sean Griffiths, sorry. from Derby, good friends with him and Amy Robinson, and they're doing it. They're donating to people. If people need it, they give without asking for it back. You know, because that's the thing. You know, it's better to give to the receive. Then you go, well, hang on, Craig, I'll give you a £5, and you never even bought me a beer last time we went out. You don't do that. You give to give. You know, that's the reward in it. Be kind, not expecting it. Don't get me wrong. It's always bloody nice to hear a thank you, but give to give. Does that make sense?
See, I think that's my outlook on it. I mean, I like gratitude. Obviously, I do, because I like it to go noticed by the person, not by the world, not by anyone else. That, look, he has put himself out. He spent time away from his kids to help, and this, that, and the other. And I don't mean grateful by sing my praises, kiss my boots, or, you know, whatever else that you'd think that singing praises means. I mean, just respect it, just acknowledge it, and just, you know, because I've come across it where I've helped people all the time I've known them, and it's been years and years, and it's been 14 years, this and this and that. And to find out that then they've done something across me, or this and the other. Now, to me, that's ungratitude. So I don't want to turn this into a personal rant. I was going on to a different subject, but I mean, I've only just come on. I've come on late into guys, so we've had to boot straight into live. So I've a bit of a crazy headspace at the minute, a bit stressed. So, but yeah, I was talking about like the.
But even that, Craig, like we're doing this for nothing. You know what I mean? We're doing this podcast for nothing. And bless you, you've come straight on. You know, you've got your own shizzle going on, and just to give you time. And that's what I think a lot of people forget in the volunteer circuit. We're volunteering to do this, and God bless him, Lee's doing all the tech, and then Aaron, God bless him, he's doing a lot of the social media sides, and same with boxing clubs and football clubs and tennis clubs and judo clubs and dance and darts and everything. You forget the person who you're actually getting taught by. 9 times out of 10 is doing it out of the love of it. And I think, you know, these people, and you go, bloody hell, you know, Ian was making a fortune. There's 20 people in here. But what you don't realise, that 20 people is going in the pot to keep that community centre, that dojo, that gym going. So the person who's actually running it is doing it for the love of it. You know what I mean? So if you like guys out there like to write in and say, thank you, John O, for helping us do football. Thank you, Elaine, for helping us do this. Because once we lose the volunteers, we lose it. Whatever it is, we lose it. So, guys, thank you, guys, and Aaron, bless you.
Yeah, Lee, thank you. Like we mentioned that earlier, didn't we, Kev? Our tech guy Lee and our original tech guy Aaron. You know, sorry,
We've
mate.
upgraded, eh, we?
Oh, wait.
No, Aaron might be listening to this.
Sorry, Aaron. Sorry.
I wouldn't say we've upgraded. We keep them both to the same standard. But, mate, it's even like, you know, it's not even heroes that do things for others. Imagine how many heroes out there, and I'm testament to myself for this. How many heroes out there are surviving their self every single day? They are saving their self from their self every single day, because we all know, and the reason for starting this podcast is we all have a hero and a villain within us. The hero tends to reside in the heart, and it normally takes a back seat from the villain that tends to reside in the head. And that's where I come from. So we've got to appreciate all the heroes out there that wake up every fucking day wanting to defeat themselves or feeling defeated, and they survive their self to live another happy day tomorrow. You know, so them heroes as well, the unspoken heroes.
Bang on. And I think that's so correct, isn't it? And I think you said that the hero lives in the heart, where the devil, the enemy, lives in their head, and that's what we've got to overcome. You know, and that's with all of us. Whether you're struggling with addiction, anxiety, depression, suicide, all these things, they all live in the head. And there's a difference between mental illness and mental, bloody hell, get my words out, toughness. You know what I mean? And that's, you know, a testimony to so many people. And I think when you've got mental illness, it doesn't mean you can't have a good life. It's like, if I've got mental illness, does that define me? Am I now called mental illness? Or if I'm blind, am I now blindness? If I've got cancer, am I now cancer? No, it's just a part of you. And hopefully you can deal with it and get around it and still live a successful, fulfilling life. So don't let whatever owns you be you. that is just something you is a part of you. Like I've got an arm doesn't mean I am an arm. Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense, mate. And Lee, I think you should chime in a minute, but I'd just like to touch up on that, Kevin. Like when people get diagnosed with something, or they push for a diagnosis, or a doctor labels them and a label on it, people automatically assume, oh, it's labelled, it's been identified, it's curable or treatable, or we can manage it. And it's not always the case. Treatments are not always effective, and it takes all that spirit within you to. They can help. I'm not saying they do, but they can help and aid. But once it's labelled, people think, oh, it's labelled, there's the problem solved, because there's obviously a treatment for it. And it's really not the case. Just because it's labelled don't mean to say that it's going to be treated and cured or anything. People are still going to be living with what they am, and that's personal and like everybody else.
What do you think about that, Lee?
Yeah, he's right. I mean, you a lot of the time you're just a hero for getting out of bed and you don't realise it, do you? Sometimes that's just the hardest thing to do, just to get up and keep going. So you're a hero. Get up and do it. That's, get yourself going. It really is a struggle for some people to do that. So well done. Keep doing it.
I've talked to both of you individually, and I don't mind saying, and I've talked to other dads, and I'll talk on behalf of men because, we're mental health, but primarily men's mental health. And every time when you're having a panic attack or you're having depression, and you have to try and shield it from your children, and you're thinking, like, daddy's having a wobble, daddy, and you're thinking that gives you that, and that's a hero, isn't it? Because you're putting someone else before yourself, and I think that's the true definition of being a hero. Going to realms that you wouldn't go for yourself, but you'll do it for someone else.
And mate, that's perfect. That leads on to this question. I think I'll read it, like, because I'm leaning forward now, if I can see it.
I'll bring it up, mate. Do you want me to?
I've got it. Most people's.
Hey, don't try and be a hero, lads.
This is Regan Pinches. Thanks for the comment again, mate. Most people's biggest hero and villain is themselves. 100% agree. And imagine how many people do share in that notion without even acknowledging it. Like you've got to understand. It's like now, like I say, I'm a bit stressed before. Come on, I've run late, and I ain't gonna lie. Like, this is what this podcast's all about. I feel like crying now, and I'm in the studio. And to be fair, when I log off and I go back into my family before I go in there, I probably will shed a couple of tears. And now, I feel like I'm welling up now, and it's just a crazy thing. And that happens, and there's not always got to be a reason. That's just, as a human being, as a person, you can be overwhelmed with emotion, and your mind takes in your eyes take in that many images in a daytime, and your mind does a great job of filtering it out. But anything that you feel may have been a trigger or may not have been a trigger could be affecting you. It's not got to be, oh, he's pissed me off or she's pissed me off. I'm going to cry about it, or I'm in a mood about it. That can happen, but like, it can just be over something that you battle with yourself, So, but it is what it is. We're humans, we're people, and we're quite robust if we believe our heart and not our head.
In truth with you, lads, I wasn't expecting this off this conversation, in terms of, because I'm thinking quite a lot now about the heroes that I've encountered, and a lot of it's around my daughter and the incredible doctors and nurses and the stuff they do, and it does make you feel emotional. I remember there was when Calla was in ICU in Nottingham, I think it was. She was really, really ill, but we had this one nurse who would do her hair and wash her hair and then plait it and do all these things that are usually quite insignificant, but you could see she was really taking care of her. And I think the doctors and nurses are just really, they just love what they're doing and love helping people, and they definitely don't do it for the money, because let's be honest, a nurse's wage, it's not massive amounts of money for what they do, so they do it to care, and they're the real heroes, really are.
Well, do you remember when we had Dr. Singh coming on, and it was in the heart of the pandemic, first wave, and he said the thing that hit him the most in the ICU, and you've been there, unfortunately, haven't you, Lee, with your baby? And he says normally when someone's poorly, you've got the mom, the dad, holding her hands. He went, but there's this old, tough nurse who's been in the game for how many years, and she was sobbing. He says, "Why are you crying?" He goes, "So I miss the contact with human beings. I'm having to make these decisions where I can't just go, Mr. Cadman, what do you think?" She missed the human element, and I think some of the most tough people, and as you say, Lee, these underpaid jobs, and like we're all clapping in NHS every Thursday. Come on, because all the clapping in the world ain't giving these poor people better wages. I mean, one of my best mates in the world, Alan Parry, and he said to me, he goes, "They keep saying we've got a lockdown because the NHS is in ruin." He goes, "Well, why aren't we just throwing these trillions of pounds to make the NHS better?" Do you remember when we were kids? We were all born in Worsley Hospital. We had Corbett's Hospital, and we had the Guest, and lo and behold, we sold them all, and then we build houses on them. So we've now got one super hospital, but God forbid we have a super virus, which we've just bloody had, and it spreads around, instead of having 5 or 6 hospitals where we could probably quarantine them better.
Yeah,
and
I think it's bad.
And every time, sorry, Craig, every time me and you, Lee, we bloody rant about the parking at Russell's Hall, whereas that money's not even going back to the NHS; it's going into someone's pockets.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. The whole in that side of things, the whole setup is awful. But we're not here to talk about that, Kevin. Truth, and I think we could probably go on about that, and why nurses have to pay to park the car to go to work. It's beyond me. We won't get into it because
heroes have to park.
Yeah. Well, they do, but they shouldn't have to pay to park.
They shouldn't have to bloody pay.
We've got a couple of. Go on, Craig. I'll do the message.
No, I'm only going to fill a gap, mate. You carry on. You read the comments.
You sure? If it's a good point, we might be jumping around here. All right.
Nah, he's probably just banging on about some shit. I normally do.
Okay. So we've got Dave Aliban, who's sent in happy birthday, Kev.
Cheers, bruv.
It
is tomorrow, Kev, so,
Well, it's Kevmas. Normally, Kevmas goes on for a week.
You go on for longer than a week, Kev.
And then we've got Paul Boggy again. Thanks, Paul. He's becoming a great listener for us and supporter. And again, go and find his book on Amazon, Heroine to Hero. It's a cracking read. And he writes, "Happy birthday, Kev. My definition of a hero has changed. As a young boy, it was a soldier returning from war. Now it's anyone who helps others." Isn't that right?
It is. You know what? It is spot on, and like you say, helps others, and they help them through no benefit of their own. And it is something as trivial as a podcast, Kev. Like you say, Lee, you do a lot with your daughter, live with your daughter, obviously. And it's a lot of responsibility, and it takes a lot of your time up. And I'm not saying that you would swap that for that, because you're my dad and that's your role, but you still find time to do this. And Aaron, he's launching products and he's doing his business, and he stretches himself right across the board, and he still finds time to release these on Spotify and to jump on here from time to time. And like going back to, emergency services, you can earn more digging holes in the road, doing street works than you can being a fireman. So people that say, "Oh, it's the job to do this, it's the job to that," even police officers, we all have our perspectives on police officers. Now, we do. We come from council estates. We know what the general consensus is of police officers, but you've got to respect police officers, because yes, they may be wasting their time dealing with, this and dealing with that. And you think, well, there's real criminals out there. But I've actually spoke to a police officer, a few years ago, who said to me that one of the toughest jobs he ever had to go to was a road collision where this car had veered off and it pinned a 6-year-old kid against the wall. And he had to hold his hand until he passed away. And I said to him, "How do you not take that home with you? You got children." He said, "We have to compartmentalize, we have to," it sounds bad, he said, "but we have to leave work at work." He said, "Because some of the things we do and some of the things we see," he says, "you wouldn't wish it on any human being." And, from that perspective, not just from a crime fighting side of it and them arresting the criminals, this and the other, you've got to respect that anyone that goes through that and goes back home and can still live a relatively normal, happy life with the children, that's an hero. Like, you've got to commend, courage like that, whether it's a police officer or not. Have your opinions, but don't ever strip the courage away and what it takes to be in the emergency service.
Well, imagine working in paediatrics. I mean, when I was in hospital when I was 3 with viral meningitis, in a coma, and my dad and my mum never left my side, and my dad was coming up and telling stories to all the kids, and he always used to leave it on a to be continued. Then one day he walked back into the hospital and he says, "Where's Craig?" When Craig died. And to be around that, he was just a dad visiting his son. To work in paediatrics or to work in a nursing home. One of my very, very good friends, Joanna Crum, she now works on the stroke ward and then the corona ward in Russell's Hall, but she used to work in an old people's home. And you get used to talking to these people. And then, Sylvia passed away. Oh, well, was the children there? The family's never come to see her. And, when you're surrounded by that much sadness on a day to day, it must take its toll. But if you, as you said, you're not going in there to make big money. You're doing it because you're a kind person, and because you're a kind person, you feel it even more. That's the problem with caring. You care so much that can kill you.
Sorry, lads. Can I just come back? I want to go back to Paul Boggy actually, because he himself is a hero. And again, we know he's done his soldier thing, but he's also at the moment raising money for military sleeping bags for the homeless in Scotland. And he does that. Every donation, every book that he sells, the donation goes to that cause as well. Paul, I hope you're still listening and you can write down where people can donate, and I'll share that on the screen.
Good shout, good shout.
It's unreal, and I'm glad you've touched upon that as well, mate. Because like you say, Paul's been on a few times now that I've been on. I wasn't on the episode where I would have got to meet him, but he's been on a few times, and I think like people like that person, and everyone else that comments, they all have hero traits, and it don't have to be sung praises. It doesn't. I mean, to me, the way we acknowledge heroes, everyday heroes. I'm not talking about humanitarian awards that these freaking celebrities, they sit up on their pedestal of like pompous folk. Not saying they don't do good, but I feel like there's a lot more average Joes that do far greater good than these pretentious celebrities. And I think the way we can acknowledge heroes, real life heroes, is not sing the praises all the time, because not a lot of people want that. I don't ever want that. If I do charity for someone, I never ever want them to mention it again. There's a saying in I can't remember if it's a religious book. It may have been the Quran, and it says something along the lines of to do charity and then speak of it, you may as well not have done it. If you know what I mean, like it negates it. Yeah, Buddhism, them all along the same lines. Is if you're going to do charity, don't like undermine that and speak on it. And I think the way we can acknowledge folk without having to have to sing their praises is live a more respectful, more thoughtful, more courteous life, and understand that just because you're not doing a hero trait, or you're not like showing somebody that hero side, you can still acknowledge a hero by living a little bit better.
But I think, I think you're right there, Craig. But I think we've also got to recognise that even if you are a celebrity, you can use that platform for good, and you only have to look at Marcus Rashford. He experienced going hungry as a kid. Now look at the campaign he's kicked off because of that, and the amount of people he's helping now because of that. So. And no doubt he doesn't want the pats on the back. He doesn't seem like that type of person. But
because he's in the public figure, he gets it naturally.
He gets it naturally, and that's not always a bad thing, as long as he's using it the way he's using it.
Two things on that. I think thank you, though, goes a long way. Thank you's different to grovelling, saying, "Oh my God, can I lick your boots?" But a gentle, you know what, Lee, thank you. That goes a long way. And just saying what you're on about, Craig. I was talking to Gaz Settle, Gary Tomlinson, who's been on the show, and he's like a little brother to me, and he's moved to Sweden, and I hope he's doing well. But he said to me, he goes, all the years, Kev, so I've been teaching for 18 years, and he goes, I just wanted to give back. I want to give back. And eventually, I left the gym because I couldn't do it. Because then he realised he wasn't giving back to you. Because how's he going to repay me? Because instead of repaying you, I should be giving forwards. And what I mean by that is he should teach kids how I taught him. Then his kids would teach kids how he taught. Do you understand? So it's not giving back, it's giving forwards. Because that person who's done it for you, who's taken you to boxing shows, football matches, whatever, he's done it because he loved you. But the way you can repay him back is by paying forward to the next generation.
I like the term paying forward, because I don't think I've ever heard that before, because normally it's handed down. No, I think that's got such a negative spin on it a little bit. It's handed down. To me, it's either handed up because we're starting the new generation up here, or like you say, it's handed forward. And I know what people mean, and we all have our terms in that, but it sounds so negative to hand something down to someone, like a hand-me-down. I grew up on hand-me-downs, hand-me-down clothes, you know, and people at school, it was the 90s, you know, where my friends had Puma AstroTurfs, Puma Kings, you know, of the different colours. They was the Sheasley back in the 90s, them AstroTurf trainers was. And we didn't. We had like Dunlops and we had Airtex and High-Techs. Now, my dad's a freaking hero because they have Pumas. Now, these friends, they had one or two. I was one of 6. And my dad worked 3 jobs, you know, to never had a handout off anyone. My mum took care of us. My dad worked. And he got us these trainers. So my dad's a hero because he sacrificed all his time for his offspring. And he still does it now to this day, you know. And we didn't have the best of everything. We did. And a lot of our clothes were my cousins, you know. My auntie would bring bags of clothes round. And me and my brother would sit there as kids, you know, be 10-year-old kids thinking, hurry up and go. I was chewing the fat with my mum, and you're thinking, you know, get gone. We want to rummage through these bags. And that was a beauty to us. But my dad's a hero in the fact he kept us fed, he kept us watered. And I respect that now. And I put it in one of my songs before, you know, hand-me-down clothes, that's how we got dressed. But my dad's work ethic, that's how we got fed. So parents as well, you know, they are heroes. They're all unsung heroes.
And grandparents and guardians and whoever you've been raised by, you know, just thank God you had them, you know, because as Craig just said, they're the heroes in our lives. What have you got to say, Lee?
Yeah, you're right, Craig. It's all got to be recognised, hasn't it? It has. It's all got to be recognised. Everyone's got to be recognised. It can be a hard life, can't it? And you got to look at achievement. Like look at my granddad's life, and he worked all his life. He had a few, probably 5 years retired, and 3 of them weren't great. He was ill. But what he did manage to do was bring up 2 children who themselves have then had more children and brought up. He brought a whole family, didn't he? I mean, that's an achievement. And, you know, he left my nan in a really good place at the end of it, money-wise, financially-wise. So, again, he's a hero. Worked for the same company for loads of years. I don't even know how long.
You all continue to give forward, and that's like a good thing that you said, Kev, about giving forward. A family should always give forward, because how, like, if the moms treat them good and the dads, and they didn't have the best of everything, but they had things, and they had love, and they had care, and they had food, and they had shelter, you give that forward. And I think I'm very much like my dad like that. I'm a very family orientated guy. Go through my problems, but I love to love. I love to care for people. That's me. And caring for people is a thankless job, you know, 80% of the time. It really is. And I think that's why you've got to take it case by case and not think, oh, I helped him and he was a prick. He wore grateful in this, that and the other. So from here on out, I'm helping nobody. You can't adopt that attitude. You've got to take care and help as a case by case thing, because not everyone's different. Not everyone's different, Craig. So everyone's the same.
Craig, he did give you the best of things, didn't he? You know, he might not give you the best trainers, but he give you the best of things. He give you your morals. He give you that worth ethic. He give you the best things to carry on in life. Them trainers that you wanted all them years ago are dead now. He's give you things that will survive, and you're passing down.
Do you know at the time though, Lee? At the time though, as a 10-year-old boy, You don't feel like it,
No.
but now I do. And people
Mm.
say, why do you, like my sons, they can have anything they want. I never say no to them. And my missus goes mad at me. I said, you never say no. I said, look, if it's to do with money, I said, they've got all their bloody life to worry about money. They're a little boy, them kids. And right or wrong, am I spoiling them? Probably. But at the time, I didn't get that. I was one of six, but I get it now, mate. I do. And I'm glad that that's how I was brought up. We had to pluck geese. 6-year-old boys, my dad would bring a goose back, and we'd have to sit on the back garden plucking it. We'd have to fetch firewood. We grew up in like the early 90s. I was born late 80s, and we grew up at a time where you had that discipline, you had that respect. And I think from like the late 90s, born from the late 90s, right the way through after the millennium, I think a lot of the parenting changed and a lot of the discipline and the generation changed. I think that was the turn of how they was. So I'm glad I grew up on that council estate with, well, my dad did own his house before he lost it, but that's another story to piss. That's one where we'll piss on the banks with, Kev.
But a couple of people have asked me to give them shout outs. I meant to do it last week, but Darren McDermott Macca from Brooklyn Boxing Gym, great club. He's a great boxer who unfortunately his career got finished a bit too early. What a hero! Instead of throwing in the towel, he started up his gym, the Brooklyn. So respect Macca, and hopefully you're going to come on the show and tell us about your story. And two others, Simon and your son Elliot. You bumped into Dad the other, whenever it was. It's hard to remember when it was now. Then the golf range. So respect, bruv, and hopefully see your son back at the club, and I hope you're well. Is there any other shout outs, lads?
Actually, we got a barrage of messages all of a sudden. Bear with me. Okay, so Julie Bob Dylan, either your mum or dad, the most precious thing we can give each other is time.
Completely agree.
You've said that 100 times, haven't you, Craig?
Do you know why it is though, Kev? It's because that's the ultimate sacrifice, and you can give someone 20 quid and you could go back and earn it, and you'll get another £20. But time, when you give someone 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 1 hour, that's the ultimate sacrifice, because them grains of sand will never go back into your pocket. You're never ever going to bank them. And I completely agree there that the greatest gift you can give, especially a child, is time. So I completely agree.
And your partner.
With that. Yeah.
And your partner. We often forget about them.
We'll try to. I'm joking.
I normally drink.
Not me, Nicky. I don't do that at all.
Sitting next to
I don't
you.
know what you're on about.
Sitting next to you, mate.
What do you mean? So we do have one from Regan Pinches again, but I'm not quite sure. Is it who puts any news on boxing coming back yet? Sorry, Regan, I don't know what you mean by that.
I think the amateur boxing, bruv, we just don't know. I think it's with amateur boxing. I think we just don't know, champ. I mean, hopefully after this lockdown, I don't know. But fingers crossed, we will compete this season. But more likely, it could be next season. But hopefully, we can all just get back together in the families that we all come from, But that's not up to us coaches,
Who knows?
Anything else, Lee?
No, that's it, mate.
Well, I mean, as we all know, Kevmas is tomorrow. So I'm going to be having as I say, normally we'd have loads of people out, but you know what? Just because it's different doesn't mean it's not going to be great. And I think that's what we've got to realise sometimes with these lockdowns and everything. I'm very lucky. I've got my wife, my daughter, friends out there I can talk to on the phone, my parents, my brother. So just because it's different doesn't mean it's going to be rubbish. We're just going to adapt to it and get through it, and that's all we can do. Like with Christmas this year, whether you can spend it with your loved ones and your own, it's going to be a weird one, but hopefully next year we're all still here, safe. We'll have a better one next year. And that's what me, Mum, Dad, Rich, Kate and the baby, and Elaine and mother all said. Hopefully when we get out of these tears, whatever it will be, we're all going to get together, be it in April, March, June. We're going to have our Christmas then. It is a day. Christmas really is for the children. But for us people, we'll just get together whenever it's right. you know, because we all know we all know we love each other anyway. So different don't necessarily mean bad. It could always be us.
You know what they say though. They can take our freedom, but they'll never take our Christmas. And I think I think someone did actually say that. War the Grinch, but it was somebody. We got another comment talking about time. This year has been hard. People have had to choose who gets their time. In my case, it was my missus or my family, and it was a shit decision to make. That was Regan Pinches again, and again, you know, conflicting. Like you feel conflicted then because you think, well, I love them and I love them, but who do you love the most? I suppose it's the one who cooks the best food. Like, follow your stomach, mate. Follow your stomach.
Well, I think this year has been full of so many tough choices, but maybe we've all got, as we said at the start, we've all got that hero in us. We've also got that devil in us. But hopefully, good will always overcome evil, light will always overcome dark. So, is there anything that anyone wants to say, lads, before I start partaking in the Kevmas season?
I heard a good quote today, actually.
Oh, save it!
Save it! I've got to remember it again yet. Give me a few minutes.
I'll be really quick. So join us on Thursday. No, join us on Tuesday. We're on Thursday. Join us on Tuesday. Well, we'll be having our wind down into Christmas. Any quotes, guys?
Yes. If you want to keep what you've got, give it away. I think that goes well with it.
I do like that. I heard one earlier actually before.
Oh, bloody hell!
And we got another comment.
And we got another comment.
Kev, we're delaying your birthday, mate. I know.
It was either move in with the missus or stay home and not see her for God knows how long. I hope he chose wisely. How was your mum over this period, mate? I'm joking, but it is a difficult decision, eh? And I think it leads me to this next quote. It don't really, but I'm going to say it anyway because it was in a silly movie. This guy had got this a gym membership for a Christmas bonus he did off his gaffer, and he was pissed off that it wore money. And his brother or his brother-in-law was a bit silly, and he turned around and he says, "It's the gift that keeps on giving all year." And I like that. Even if you have a shit gift like socks or something for Christmas, at least you get to wear them all year. Merry Kevmas.
Merry Kevmas. So until we see each other next time, take care of yourselves and each other. Ta-ra a bit.
Listen.
And that's a wrap for another show. But if there are any comments or messages that you would like us to read out for our next podcast, please be in touch. There are also lots of different organisations at the bottom of this page, and hopefully they can help you or someone you care about. Please share this to spread the word. Until we talk next time, ta-ra a bit.
Listen.